All right, home inspectors or listeners, I imagine it's home inspectors listening to this, but anybody's welcome to listen. I got a good buddy of mine, a pod buddy of mine, Mr. Tim Evans. How you doing this evening, Tim?
Good, Preston. How are you this evening?
Good, good, good. Tim is a super successful home inspector up in Michigan. I think kind of the western coast of Michigan there, I guess.
Yep,
Uh, so I'll let you tell more about it, but tell us a little bit about your company, how you got started, and just tell us about yourself and your company, Tim.
sure, Preston. I'll be happy to. I have been in business about 11 years now, 11, 12 years, and I got into it through a friend. And I had a friend that was getting ready to retire. He'd been a home inspector for many years. And he said, "You want to have lunch sometime?" And I said, "Sure." And we went and talked. And I didn't know very much about home inspections other than I had one on a home that I purchased not too long prior to that. And he's a great guy, very I would say his name is Larry, and he has a lot of attention to detail. So basically, he was telling me about his inspection business, and one thing led to the other, and I thought, this is a business that I could do well in, I could help people in, and that's just how it got started.
Cool, cool. Now, what did you do in your previous life?
I've done a number of things. After college, I was a flight instructor for a few years in the United States Navy.
Oh,
Um,
wow, I didn't know that.
and then from there, I got in the healthcare industry, did that for many years, sales and marketing. And from there, I did home inspections. So,
Awesome. Well, and something else, Tim and I have in common, though, we have a love for rental properties. So we'll
yeah.
get into that a little bit. I think that's
Okay.
a terrific retirement plan, just long-term wealth building strategy. We'll definitely talk about that. So tell us, so how many inspectors do you have now?
There's six, and there's 8 people in the company. So
Okay, and what areas do you cover? Like what?
So if you look at the west side of the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, we basically the north tip is an area called Petoskey, and then it goes south all the way down to Ludington. And we pretty much stick to the lakeshore, and we pretty much do everything in that area.
Okay, and you guys do home inspections, and you're doing sewer scope. Tell us about that. I know.
Yeah. So
For
yeah,
those that
so
don't know, we're in a group together, and I I'm going to take a little credit, but you did it yourself. I talked him into doing the sewer scope. I think
you
he was
did.
already going to do it,
You
but
did, and I'm very grateful that I listened to you too. There's a couple of services that or a couple that we used to sub out, just one now, but we used to sub out sewer scopes. And the idea that we had, Preston, was that we don't want to do sewer scopes. It's messy, it's dirty, and we're
same. I
we're
thought the
we're
same
we're,
thing.
we're too good to do that. Basically, that was my mindset. But I was talking to you and some of my other pod members on our group, and they said, it's really not that way. You can really help people. It's not time consuming. The learning curve is not super high, and it's a great addition to add to your inspection company. So we've been doing it now for a few months, and we're really successful doing it. It's a fun thing to market and tell clients about, and it really helps them avoid a real problem down the road in a lot of older homes.
100%. Yeah, and the price point on that, I mean, we're charging I think 295, and I think it's worth every penny. I know in some areas maybe they're a little less, but the thing I love about it is versus like radon. We do radon testing. So let's say radon, I think we charge 185, but we have to leave our equipment there for 48 hours or more, and they come back, and so you got to have multiple machines, and they're tied up, and when one's being used for 48 hours, you can't use that one somewhere else. So the thing I love about the sewer scope, first and foremost, like you said, you are giving them value. I mean, there's no way to know without a sewer scope if there's tree roots or the lines crushed or something like that. But you don't tie up your equipment. It's going to take you like 15, 20 minutes probably, and you're giving them a valuable service. And then, you reel it back up, and it's really not messy like you think. I mean, you use these cloth stuff, but it's, you just run it. I mean, it's all that stuff you thought, I thought too, and it's not true.
No,
um,
100% right. It's really not that way. And well, it's a twofold kind of win. You're providing a better service for your client, kind of a one-stop shop, if you will. But as a business owner, you're providing an additional service, and that service is, in our case, we put the sewer scope, the entire video, in the home inspection report. We get our inspections out within 1 hour after completion, and that includes the sewer line. And before, when we sub the sewer line out, we would get that a day or two after. But now everything is done at the same time. The clients click on a link; it's like a YouTube video, and it's really a nice service.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's fantastic. So anybody listening out there, if you're thinking about doing it, do it.
Absolutely.
It's a great service, and it's a great value, and a value add, and you'll make more money. I'll just be quite frankly with you. I mean, I've always said there's two ways to make more money in this business: do more inspections or provide more value per inspection.
Right.
And I would like to do both, but if I had to choose, and one or the other, I would provide more value per inspection because that's less driving, less liability, and more value per inspection. So,
Well,
I,
it's really more fun as a business owner too, Preston, because when I make an appointment or my admin person makes the appointment or takes the appointment, I should say, it's really exciting to say, hey, this is something you should look into. This is really important. What I usually tell people is, you know, I'll give them two scenarios. The first scenario is everything's fine. We don't find anything. It's wonderful. You're good to go. The other one is you're buying an expensive home and we find a problem. And it is not uncommon in our service area to see a $20,000 sewer line repair, primarily because if we find an issue and someone has to fix it, you're responsible for digging up the sidewalk and maybe the middle of the city street. The city does not. So I always tell people that. I kind of give them two scenarios, and I never know what we're going to find because it's a buried component of the home, but it's really something they should look into. So I just tell them this: at a very minimum, you should have your realtor contact the listing agent to find out if the sewer line has ever been cleaned or maintained. And you know what? I've been surprised how few times people say they have information about it. The normal scenario is they don't know anything about it. You better have it. We better inspect it. And that's just really common.
yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. Well, let me ask you this, Tim. You've got 7 guys, and obviously I talked to you. You're in a growth mode. You're expanding. Hiring and training is where I'm going. Do you guys how what's that look like? And tell me again the name of your company.
It's TC Home Inspections.
TC Home Inspections. So what does that look like? New person hires on with you. Do you guys? And I don't know, is Michigan a licensed state? Do you use any of the the organizations, any of their training stuff? How do you get somebody from interviewing, trained to out on their own? What's that
Yeah,
process?
good question. And we've kind of modified this over the years, and I think we've improved our process. Basically, I lean on my veterans in my company, and I have people here that have been here 7, 8, 9 years that are my lead inspectors, because most of our inspections we do as a team of 2 people. So I really lean on my veterans to do that, my lead inspectors. And the way the process works is, we vet people, we do them where we vet people just like you would any other job. And once we find someone we like, we start scheduling ride-alongs, because everyone wants a job. Everyone you interview says, this is something I want to do, but we really want them to get their hands dirty. And the way we like to do that is we basically have them work with one of our inspectors or maybe 2 inspectors and really do everything eventually that a full-blown inspector would do, from crawl spaces to attics, and just see how they like it, to see if it's a good fit. And then at the same time, we'll start them on modules with InterNACHI. Now, Michigan is a non-licensed state, so we're kind of like the Wild West. And because of that, it kind of puts the onus on us as a company to have some kind of structure in place so that everyone's trained the same. I've found over the years that I've had better luck hiring people that don't have tons of a background in either engineering or construction, but rather someone that's more open-minded, so we can teach them and train them our method, our way of doing things. And I always have said that, inspections are about 50% of what we do. The other 50% is communication and communication skills with our realtors, with our clients, anyone out there that we need to help, because you can't really just do one without the other. You have to inspect really well. You have to have attention to detail, but at the same time, you have to relay that information in a manner that people can understand.
Yeah. It's you bring that up, and I've interviewed a bunch of people over the years in different states, and some are licensed. Some North Carolina and South Carolina are licensed that we're in, but I think Georgia's not, which is down below us. And I have mixed feelings. I'm sure a lot of people do about licensing or non-licensing. And early on, I thought that was a good thing because I thought maybe that made another barrier to entry. And that anything that there's a barrier to entry, you pay a little more or something, or maybe a little bit. But then I'm also very much a libertarian type guy and doesn't always agree with some government regulation. Like I think that's stupid, or some things, so then I'm like, I don't know, license is good or bad. I don't know, but
Well, every few years it comes up, and in the state of Michigan, and they talk about licensing home inspectors, and then there's an election and it falls off and no one talks about it anymore. So that's been going on for many years, but as it stands right now, we're a non-licensed state. So
yeah, cool. Well, let me ask you this. Obviously, growing your company, hiring people, to have the business to hire them, got marketing, and that's changed. I mean, and I'm curious, like how you do it. There was a certain way we were doing it, and then COVID happened, and then we kind of had to all change, and now some of that's coming back. I'm just curious, what's your thoughts on marketing? What do you do? What do you want to do? What's marketing for your company look like?
yeah, so because I come from a sales and marketing background, I'm very familiar, and I know you are too, Preston, with the old adage that you know 80% of the business comes from 20% of the people out there. So you always,
Pareto principle.
yeah, it doesn't matter what you sell. That's going to be close. And in our business, it's more like 90-10 almost.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's just how it is. There's a lot of realtors that sell one or two homes a year, and then there's some that just sell a lot of homes. So it kind of makes you have to remember who the busy people are, keep in touch with them, and you can do that through, the internet campaign. You do that through personal meetings. You do that through lunch and learns. All these activities are incredibly important. And then you have to think about frequency too. How many times are you actually getting in front of these people on a monthly or every couple of month basis? So that's those 20 percenters. But in our business, we get a tremendous amount of business that aren't the 20 percenters. And those people have attributes too that you want to keep in contact with. And then in our business, this as well as I do, there's a lot of young realtors. Someday they're going to be the 20 percenters.
Right.
You don't know who they are all the time. So you have to continue to market to basically everyone all the time. And so that's what you have to remember, because you don't want to lose those opportunities either. So at our company, we like to try to use all the different touch points that we can. We currently employ one program called Top of the Mind campaign. We've had some good luck with that. But in addition to that, we do the basic things like before and after home inspections. We will call realtors. Do you have any questions coming up after the inspection, the post-inspection call? Do you have any questions afterwards? So those seem to be really important phone calls to make. When we do those calls, it's very common for realtors to say that, you're the only company that does that. You're the only company that I get telephone calls from after the inspection, and we really appreciate that. So that's something we continue to do, and we think that's important. It takes a lot of time to do that, but it's very important. So we try to do, again, as many touch points as we can to help our business not only grow, but maintain the core things too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's good and bad with our business. I mean, the good is, it's not a high startup business. You don't have to have a whole lot to start in this business, but you got to go out and kill it every day, you know. Whereas pest control or something like that, even heating and air guys, they sell this like preferred membership or something where they come out, there's a continuity income or residual, like pest control company, they get people on quarterlies, and so it's like they really just have to sell it once, and as long as they don't screw it up, even insurance guys that sell insurance, yeah, they just got to sell it to you one time. And you'll probably stay with that insurance person the rest of your life, unless they really screw it up. Whereas with us, man, it's like that realtor likes us, but there's no contract, there's no whatever, and some other good-looking dude's gonna come walking in the office, and you got to get out. And which kind of brings me to my next point, where we do have to go out and market every day, and some people do get into pest control and stuff like that, which I love that, or diversifying into other things, and kind of using home inspection as a lead generation. Now I know there's some people out there listening that'll be like, "Oh, that's ethical violation," and I'm not gonna weigh into that or anything. I'm just telling you what's happening. Um, but there is, all right. So if you sold like a pest control company, it has a multiple, what is it, price earnings ratio or something that's a little bit higher. Like, if it's doing $1 million a year, I don't know what it is. I think it's like three, maybe. It's worth 3 million. But if a home inspection company's doing $1 million, it's probably not even worth $1 million. Or I don't know, because there's no contracts. All it is goodwill, I think. But what do I know? What do I know? I mean, but I do think home inspection companies aren't worth as much as we would like them to be worth because of that. Um, Curious about your thoughts on that and what you think about. There's a lot of buying up of home inspection companies out there that's being bought up, and what's your feelings, or what do you think about that? Hey guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. I hope you're getting value out of it. I'm sponsoring, I guess, myself. I'm not really selling anything, but hey man, I thought I'd just tell you about I do a little art on the side, PrestonSandlin.com. Check it out if you got some time. Kind of do some cool looking stuff, I think, but I understand that art is subjective. Also, I'll follow you back if you follow me on TikTok. I'm Inspector Crazy Pants. I'm Inspector Crazy Pants on Instagram. We have two on Instagram: Inspector Crazy Pants and Home Inspection Carolina. We are also, Home Inspection Carolina on Facebook, and you can check out our website, homeinspectioncarolina.com. But you guys follow me, I'll follow you back. Comment, I'll try to comment back. I think it helps everybody's algorithm. So without further ado, I'll let you get back to the podcast. I just want to say I appreciate you listening, and hopefully we'll see each other sometime at a conference. Thanks a lot. And I'll add mine too. And I'm Switzerland on it. I'm neutral, really. I'll go ahead and put mine out there. I'm Switzerland. I mean, I'm glad there's opportunities for people to sell them if they want to. But anyway, what's your thoughts on all that?
Well, you said a couple of really important things, Preston. I think that if you look at our industry, what you and I do for a living, I think that we have to remember that as a marketing organization, we have to continue to market all the time.
Right.
I think that our business is slightly different than some other businesses to a certain degree. And this is how I like to think about it. If you think about your top realtors, your top clients, whether it be residential or commercial realtors, most of them use more than just one inspection company. Right. And the reason for that, they're always in a hurry. They're going to use someone that they can count on, they can get on their list like in 7 to 10 or 14 days. So a lot of them, if you really broke it down with them and they were 100% honest with you, they'd say, look, the most important thing for me is I need to sell a property. That's what I do for a living. And I need to do that the best that I can for my client. And what that means to you and me is, unless we have an available spot on our schedule, they could go to somebody else. And I can tell you that some of my busiest home inspection are realtors that provide us with business. I know they use other companies. It doesn't mean they don't think my company is the best, they need someone to provide a product in a short period of time. And with that in mind, I think it's important for you and I to understand that we don't have people locked in hardly ever.
Right.
It is
Well,
it's continually marketing, it's reminding. It could be nothing more than a quick phone call saying, hey, I was thinking about you today. Is there anything I can do for you? Those kind of things I think are just really important.
yeah,
So
and oh, go ahead. Well, I want to add something.
I was just going to say that that makes our business a little different. I mean, we'd like to think what we have is the best, and we might have the best product in our market share in our area, but there are other people out there too, and they're going to be used from time to time.
Yeah, and
So
well, go ahead. I'm going to add something.
that's just something we have to remember. It's a very competitive business that we're in.
100%. Well, and I'm going to add something to it that well, first of all, I agree with you 100%. I'm going to add something that is going to be hard for some home inspectors to hear, but it's true. There are a lot of real estate gurus, coaches, brokers in charge, whatever, that are telling them they should offer multiple inspectors for liability reasons. Um,
Absolutely.
because if they say use this guy and something goes wrong, that they don't want the blowback on them. You told me to use this guy, therefore, where there's less liability if they said, no, I gave you a choice of three good ones. Now I know every home inspector listening to this is probably about to wreck their car. Oh, I'm the best. Don't recommend anybody else. But I mean, you've always got to look at things from other people's standpoint and think about it. If you're a realtor, you said it, Tim. Their job is to sell a house and get a commission, and that's how they feed their family. And they don't want to get sued, and they don't want to, they may like you, they may like you a lot, but at the end of the day, they've got to do what's best for them and their family. I mean, so you know, you got to have tough skin because it does hurt sometimes. Because I can actually look at the MLS data, and there's realtors, and I'm looking, it's like, they used this for 3 this month, but they had 7.
Right? Exactly. Yep.
you know, but as I've gotten older, I've gotten thicker skin, but I'm not going to say it still doesn't hurt. So, but
Yep.
what really hurts though is when have you ever been asked to sponsor something and you look back and like, yeah, you haven't used me since 2007, and you want me to sponsor your client appreciation party?
That's exactly right. So, and then you have to think about in that case, if someone hasn't used you in a while, it might be as something as simple as they were using somebody else, they thought they could help somebody else, and they haven't forgot about you. They have nothing negative to say about you, and they simply need to hear from you. They need to be reminded that you're there to help them, and maybe you can talk about some other business that you've done with them in the past and what a great experience that you were able to offer them and re-engage them again, and you'll probably get that business back from them, but it's just something you have to be aware of all the time in our business.
Well, Tim, I just been doing listings. I've just been doing a lot of listings. You hear that one? I hear that one. I'm like,
I
I
have,
can
I
see that
have,
you were on the
absolutely.
buyer side of 5 deals last month. I don't say that, but I think it. I think it. But I think you and I both have kind of found a way to help out with that because we don't have a continuity program or a contract or anything of a way to get say this get money every month. I mean that doesn't sound like the right thing to say, but I can't think of other words. And that's been by buying real estate. I've done it. You've done it. So tell us a little bit about what you do. You're a real estate investor. Tell us a little bit about it.
So, well, it's kind of something I got into a few years back, Preston, and it was my wife has a separate career, and then I have the home inspection company, and we have, like a lot of people, then they get older, they have retirement accounts that are sitting there, and they hope to grow as you get older, and
But you have no control of them.
you
None.
you have no control, and it's not a hard asset either. You can't touch it. It's something you look it
You
up on
can't
your
improve
own.
it. You can't improve it. You can't.
No, you do the best you can, and then I was thinking about years ago, okay, I need to diversify. I need to do something that like a hard asset. That whole idea appealed to me, and the idea of taking my proceeds from my inspection business, and instead of just throwing those into my IRA, take that money and use it in a different fashion, a different way. And that's what my wife and I did this together years ago. So we started buying multifamily properties. We have a few single family homes, but mostly multifamily properties. And then most recently, we purchased a couple of short-term rentals. So, and those are completely different businesses, we found out.
Airbnb, VRBO type.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And that's a completely different animal than long-term rentals. I tell, it's funny because we're in the inspection business. I, just like you probably do, I have a lot of calls from first-time investors. And I can't help myself. And I say, well, have you invested in real estate before? And most of them will say, no, this is my first time. And my response to that would be, well, how many books have you read? And most people will say, why do I need to read a book? And there's so much to learn, tax savings wise, repair wise. Do you self-manage? Do you hire a company to do it for you? How do you vet people that live there? I mean, there's just so much to learn. I've actually done many home inspections, and a couple years later, people will call me, and it will be a different person. It will be someone buying that same property, and the person that bought it was just having a terrible experience between renters, between losing money on repairs, and they basically didn't know what they were doing, so they sold the property. That's really common in real estate. And so what I tried to do is, my wife and I both, we read everything we could read. We kind of went into it slow, and then we would buy 1 or 2 properties a year. And then they've been doing very well. And the best thing we've done is we've benefited from the economy doing well in real estate. The only thing I would have done differently is I would have bought a lot more years ago.
Yeah, well, you played Monopoly, right? And the person who, if you think about it, everybody out there listening, if you've ever played Monopoly, who always wins? It's that person that
That's
in the
right.
beginning buys as much as they possibly can.
Right.
Even if they mortgage everything,
Right.
you're going to eventually land on their boardwalk or park place.
That's right. That's a great
gonna break
analogy. That's so true. So yeah, my wife and I, we love doing that. And I think I tell everyone this, if I can give them just a little bit of advice without boring them to death, I always tell them the best thing you could do is vet people living in your buildings really, really well. If you do that, you'll have a good experience. If you don't do that, you will have an unhappy life.
100%. And I've done both. I've done both. I bought. So we've been buying. I think we have 17 altogether.
Okay.
All of ours are single family. I haven't ventured into the multifamily or the Airbnb, which I'm not against it. I've got to study it more. I need to read some books on it. And I'll probably talk to you some. But early on, and I found out some things the hard way. I tried to manage it myself, and and I was friends with people. All mistakes. And now we have a property manager, and and I remember, man, I was I had young kids, and I'm meeting somebody over on Wilkinson Boulevard, which is the hood. At 12 o'clock at night, you get $200 in a parking lot. And that looks a lot like a shady drug deal.
Yep.
I got my kids in the car. Like, I'm thinking, I'm not doing this right. And so yeah, I started listening to every book I could. Big fan of Bigger Pockets.
I am too. Yep.
And all those guys, Brandon Turner and a couple of other ones. I started just sponging up every single thing I could. And there's a lot of I don't know if you guys, I'm sure there is. There's always like investment groups around. I haven't gone to one in a while, but I used to go, and I like going to that. I mean, people do everything, right? They wholesale, they flip, they rehab, but I like the contacts you can get there because I could find like a guy who could do windows for $150 each.
Right.
And it's good to have friends that are investors and stuff because you learn, like, I mean, and it's weird. I don't think it's a scarcity thing. Most investors I've ever talked to, like, if you talk to them and buy them lunch or something, I mean, they'll be happy to tell you. I mean, everyone I've ever met, super nice. I mean, nobody can do all the deals. I mean, there's
I think you hit on something really important. If you can talk to someone that's an investor, they've been an investor for years. Most people that do that are very happy to share information with you. They don't necessarily look at you as competition, but someone they can help. And that's what I did too. A lot of people might make the mistake of thinking as a realtor, as someone that might be a great source. And there are realtors that are good resources, but the majority of realtors are not great resource when it comes to rental properties, at least where I live. That being said, I know a couple that are awesome, but the most of them are not. So first time investors, they'll hear sometimes that this is a great deal, this is a great buy. They'll hear that, but they have no idea what that means or what that would look like in their portfolio, how that works in their life. And those are just really important questions to get answered. So again, if I could have done one thing different, I would have bought more rental properties years ago. Because
100%.
yeah,
And we bought some, a couple of things we've learned on that front. Couple of tips. First of all, find out who handles all the like foreclosures and stuff. A lot of times a bank or goes through kind of a real estate, but it's sort of like a wholesaling type. Find out who there's usually that they're doing it for a discounted rate. Find out them. But I found a bunch of deals actually through property managers, because a lot of times property managers will be managing these properties, and for whatever reason that seller wants to just sell and get out, but the property manager wants to keep those under their, usually it's like 7% or something like that. And so sometimes they'll bring you deals and it doesn't go through, the sale. I mean, you're buying it, it never hits the market, and
right,
so
right.
and they're willing to give you a little bit of a deal because they're not having to pay 6%, on the thing. And I bought several like that where it never went on MLS, anything. But anyway,
And you might want to keep that business if it's all right with you as a new owner to continue to manage it for you too.
Right. And that's pretty much what I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what I love about that. And I know we're talking about home inspection. Is that's a certain amount of money coming in every month, regardless. No matter what the interest rate goes, whatever, it seems so volatile, and I don't have to go kill it every day. Although, it's not all sunshine and rainbows either. I'll tell you that. I had to put on a roof and a new HVAC system this month, and that was not fun.
Well, here's a quick story for you about rentals. We all lived through COVID as Americans and people throughout the world. A lot of people in our industry, their inspection business went down. And that's because we had to. A lot of states weren't allowed people to work. My rental properties, I didn't have one rental property tenant that didn't pay their rent every single month.
Same. Yeah, I was worried about that because they put they said they didn't have to pay it. I'm like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me.
Right.
But all mine paid.
Yeah, and I was really happy about that. And that was, I mean, if you can make it through COVID as a property owner, you could probably make it through quite a bit.
Yeah. So my and I'm sure yours too. My advice to any inspectors out there is, take some of your money and invest it. We can't do this forever. I like real estate. I love it. It's not something you can just casually get into, though. You got to study it and learn it. But also, I like index funds, mutual funds, although that's a whole separate conversation. I don't know. I like real estate a lot better.
Yeah, we could talk about that one for hours, but
I mean, certainly save some of your money for sure and invest it in different places.
Absolutely. And just think about diversification, if nothing else. In the stock market, it has wild swings. Over time, real estate has always done really well. So
100%. Well, we'll get to the lightning round here and then we'll put a knot on this. But before we do that, the question I always ask people, and for all the listeners out there, I didn't give Tim the questions or anything ahead of time. So what is the wildest, craziest, or weirdest thing you or one of your guys have ever found on an inspection? And remember, this is a G-rated show for iTunes.
The wildest thing we've ever,
or craziest thing or story. I mean, we've had people that got guns pulled on them. We've had people that found a hidden room. All kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, we've all had some difficult renters and rental properties that we've inspected for people. I think probably the one of the craziest things is you got to remember where I live. I live in the west side of Michigan, and we have a lot of a lot of critters. We
Right.
had we had a crawl space. This has been a few years ago. I hadn't thought about this in a long time. We had a otter in a crawl space, and
Oh
if you
my
think
gosh, an otter!
an otter,
I've had a raccoon, but I've never had an otter.
so if you think about an otter in a zoo, they're these cute little creatures. They come up under the water and they look like you'd want to scratch them, kind of like a dog.
But now
We're
you're in his house, his
we're
space.
we're in his space,
Yeah.
and I should say we're pet friendly, otter friendly. This guy did not want us. He did not want us in his crawl space. And my
Yeah.
my one of my biggest inspectors, he's a big guy. He played baseball at Michigan State University. He was the Big Ten guy of the year, baseball player one year. He came out of that crawl space about 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he came face to face with Mr. Otter, and the Otter won, so he kicked him out. So yeah,
Were you able to get back in there later, or how did you?
no, that was it. We didn't even attempt. He was showing us that he didn't want us there, and we decided to stay out. So I don't know if otters. I'm assuming they bite. I don't really know, but
I think any animal will bite if you get them
oh
cornered.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
the sweetest dog, I mean, I told my kids, our dogs don't bite, but I'm like, if you cause them pain, they would bite you.
right,
Um, I've never had an otter. I've had a couple of raccoons and snakes. Oh gosh, we have snakes.
okay,
And I had one time where I pulled down, because you got to check the insulation back behind the steps and under the refrigerator and all, all the places where water damage could be. Man, I pulled it back 10, and it was a black snake, which isn't poisonous, but fell down, like landed on my forearm. Oh my gosh. Man, my heart rate jumped up about 1,000. And I don't even know how I got out of there. I just crawled backwards, but my adrenaline was pumping so hard I couldn't drive. I couldn't even. I tried to put the key into the ignition, and my hand was so much dopamine or whatever you call that, that fight or flight stuff. It took me
absolutely,
about 2 hours to settle down before
yep.
I could get my hand steady again. But
Well, as home inspectors, we always hear about an occasional raccoon or a mean animal. Um, I have been bitten before, not by a big dog, but a little dog. I think it was an
uh,
Australian sheepdog, and
mhm.
I didn't even see him coming. I was getting into my car after the inspection. I met one of my teams at the inspection, and I was there to ask them a few questions. And I put my left foot in the car, and all of a sudden something grabbed my ankle, and it would not let go.
Oh gosh.
And it hurt for about 2 or 3 weeks. He really
Those
pinched
are
me.
like herding. They like to herd.
Yeah, they're a herder dog. Yeah, yeah,
Smart
absolutely.
too, really smart.
Yep,
All
yep.
right. Well, it's the lightning round, and this is a little game called This or That. All right. So I might have to use my glasses here to. I can't. I've got it up on another screen here, but all right. So I'm going to give you two things, and you choose between them. This might get you in trouble with your wife. Ginger or Marianne?
Marianne.
Marianne. That's what most people say. I did have somebody say Ginger not too long ago. Are you iOS or Android?
Say one more time.
iOS or Android? iOS is
Oh,
Apple.
iOS. Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather do cardio or lift weights?
Um, if I feel really pain free, I'd rather jog. Most of the time, I'd lift weights now.
Gotcha. Day at the beach or a day at a theme park?
What was the first one?
A day at the beach or a day at a theme park?
Probably the beach. I'm not a big theme park guy.
Yeah, same. Would you rather have iced coffee or hot coffee?
Hot coffee.
Christmas Vacation or Elf?
Christmas vacation is always good.
Okay, Caddyshack or Animal House?
Caddyshack.
Tennis shoes or flip flops?
Flip flops.
Um, Nice car or nice house?
Nice house. Yeah.
Same, same.
Yeah.
Football or basketball?
Um, Probably football,
Horror movie or comedy movie?
comedy movie,
Uh, rather see a movie at home or a movie in the theater?
home.
All right, the last one and the most important one: toilet paper. Over or under? Is it a beard or a mullet?
Probably over.
Over. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what 90% of people say. And in fact, I've had some people say there's something wrong with people under. But I have heard people say that if you have a cat, it's better to do it under. They're less. If it's over, they're more likely to do their little.
That could be true. I don't have a cat though. No.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you so much for giving us time, and man, we all learned something. Tell us like your website, Facebook page, and guys, if you guys got some value from Tim, and you know you did, let's go give him some likes and shares and anything that'll help him on his
Absolutely. So
stuff.
you can my company his website is it's actually Traverse City Home Inspections.com.
Okay.
And you can email us at I got a couple, but I'll give you the main business one. It's Traverse City Home Inspections at gmail.com.
Okay. And how do you spell Traverse? Traverse.
Traverse is
Traverse
actually, it
City.
looks like traverse, but it's pronounced Traverse, like you traverse somewhere, but it's actually where we live, it's called Traverse City.
Okay. And are you okay if somebody like heard something on this interview and they wanted to follow up with you or
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be
uh,
awesome.
and
So
and I'll say this, I know Tim's a good dude, and this goes for almost all home inspectors I know. If you see them at a conference or something, go buy them a beer and ask them any question. They will probably answer. But
absolutely.
I always do that with everything though. Try to give a little bit of value first before you ask for value. You know what I mean? I mean, he would answer a question anyway, but I guarantee you, if you buy him a beer, he would do it. So
Yeah,
awesome.
100%. That's great advice. I think, and this could go for any small business owner. I think we all like to share what we do. We're all excited about what we do for a living, or we wouldn't be doing it. So anytime we can help somebody, we're going to do it.
Awesome. So Traverse City Home Inspection. That's a Facebook page too. Do you have a
Yes.
Facebook page?
Yep.
Okay. So guys, go there, give Tim some likes, some shares if you got something out of this, and I know you did. And Tim, I appreciate your time, and I will catch you probably sometime next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Preston.
Awesome.